This video was sponsored by Squarespace. Websites, online stores, marketing tools, and analytics. It's got everything you need to build your online portfolio and get your business going. Stay tuned until the end of the video to find out more. Today on Spotlight, I have here Helltaker. This was recommended to me by Twitter follower Wayne is Boss. So Wayne, thanks again for the suggestion. I never heard of this until I decided to give it a whirl. Had my wallet out and ready to go, but to my surprise, I learned that this game was completely free. It's a nice cozy feeling. And sometimes I can't help but approach completely free games with a bit of hesitancy because I'm wondering, okay, it's like, what's the catch? You know, normally there's some sort of catch when you don't have to pay a single dime for it. And the only thing I learned before like hitting play on the install was that the game was incredibly short. I didn't get an exact measurement of how short it was, but it was pretty damn short. And he's like, you know what? All right, what's the harm? I'm not really paying for anything. The only thing that was really being sold was the soundtrack for this game, and apparently a recipe for pancakes, which makes more sense when you play and complete this game and you get to the ending. You know, so if you want some head-bopping tunes during your breakfast run, you know, Helltaker's got you covered. All right, but about the game itself, indie title, single developer, we've heard that story plenty of times before, and you know, I always feel that when you have just one person doing everything, they got a lot to prove because, you know, it's tough when you gotta do all the checks and balances to make sure the game, you know, is running at maximum capacity. And if something screws up, and that's entirely on you, you can't blame the QA testers, you can't blame the debugging team. It's all on you. And the developer here is, I'm checking, I got some notes here, Van Ripper. It's a Polish developer. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce his actual name because I am terrible with accents, and I don't want to, you know, insult Van Ripper's actual name. Now, the premise of Helltaker involves you, this dude, I don't know if he's ever given a name. I think he's just known as the Helltaker. You start the game and you're first greeted by Beelzebub, you know, Lord of the Flies, or the Great Fly, I think is his actual subtitle for this game. And he elects to act as your narrator for this story, where you're this dude that, you know, wakes up from a dream, just suddenly decides one day, I want a harem full of demon girls. I mean, don't we all? So he decides, you know what, I'm going to go to hell and I'm going to recruit a whole bunch of girls to make a demon harem. But in order to get to the girls, you got to solve these puzzles, and basically it's top down. You have a limited amount of movements. You see the number on the bottom left side there. The bottom right number, the Roman numeral, is just the stage that you're in. I think there's like a total of 10 stages. And basically what you're trying to do is, in a limited amount of moves, you have to find a means to get to the girl in question. And if you use too many moves, you just get fucking smited. Indignation. You ever seen that move in Tales of Symphonia? It's kind of what I immediately thought of, but it's like, no, it's like you're incurring the wrath of some motherfucker with how you just get blasted out of the ground like that. You know, it's pretty harmless, all things considered, because you have infinite lives in this one. It's just a matter of learning the correct route to go and getting to the demon girl in question. The number of obstacles generally don't ever get more complicated than, you got these dancing goons there. I think they're just called slaves. You can just get them out of the way by just rubbing against them, and you just like kick them in the shin or the stomach. And I think if you like push them against the wall, then you can permanently take care of them. But obviously everything that you do in this game costs moves on the left side, and again, you only have so many of those. So the solution to some puzzles in this game requires that, you know, maybe it's best that if you don't waste time kicking the slaves, maybe push them out of the way once, try and find another way around them. Otherwise, again, you're getting smited again because you got a little bloodthirsty. Other traps include, you know, these spikes on the ground that protract and retract depending on every movement that you do, and getting past them requires that you time your movements just right, or sometimes you deliberately stall by, you know, hitting a nearby rock or punching a nearby slave, because the spikes react to everything you do, not just like ground movement. So I know a handful of puzzles in this require that you keep that in mind so that you can safely traverse through the narrow corridor. Otherwise, you're taking a hit from spikes every single step, and I think like the penalty for spike damage is like 2 steps instead of just 1. So yeah, the number goes down really quick if you're reckless. Although there are some spikes that don't retract at all. You have to go over them to proceed. And I remember one stage, I think it was stage 3, you have to determine the safest route so that you're not on death's doorway before you get to the lock. That one tripped me up for a bit because I wasn't entirely sure what route I had to go. I was doing the counting. I was like, all right, if I go this route, I'm gonna get hit by 3 spikes. If I go this way, it's 4. I can only take 1 spike here, but then I gotta kick the demon slave too many times to count. Then he blocks the key, and then by the time I backtrack, my number's already at 0, and I'm not winning. The puzzle solving in particular starts pretty brain dead at first. Nice little brain teasers, just a matter of observation, thinking maybe 1 step ahead in some instances. There are about 10 stages total, but I want to say it should only take you about, if you guys, especially got a knack for these sort of things, it should only take you about like 20-25 minutes up until like stage 8 and stage 9, which absolutely destroyed me. We can get to that in a second. I think the type of puzzle that just kind of broke me in a lot of regards is the classic, block pushing. I've played a whole bunch of Legend of Zelda, both the original and A Link to the Past. It was pretty rampant with that kind of stuff. Where the hell, even like Pokemon Gen 1 and Gen 2. I think of like the Ice Cave, where you got to push the boulders in a specific way to open up a pathway, and there are a few rooms in this game that are particularly rife with that. Puzzle 9 is nothing but that. But no, this is a game that's like short, but I would say it's pretty sweet, and not just because like it's always so good to overcome the obstacles at hand. In puzzle games, like I'm terrible at puzzle games. I am not in any capacity a connoisseur of the puzzle game. Like I'm the dumb fuck, but that doesn't mean I won't at least give it a try in some sort. I'm happy to say that I was able to like do 90% of this game. Here's the thing, because if you find yourself stumped, you noticed in the bottom there's life advice. What you do is that you ask the advice of whatever harem girl that you've currently recruited, though it doesn't amount to much. I didn't do life advice for every room because there are some puzzles that I was like, no, just do this, not do that. Bada boom, I don't really need life advice at all. But on the particularly tricky ones, I pop life advice. Okay, I need help because I don't want to use the skip option. Because if the room is too much for you, I think the game gives you an option to just straight up skip it, just to progress with the story, or just continue on with the dialogue and all that thing. Because this game is pretty funny. If you decide to stick with the life advice, you'll find that most of the girls are not really helpful. They're assholes. Like a lot of them are just pure fucking assholes, and because you're in hell, and what are you trying to do? Is like you're trying to build a harem, and some of them are down with the idea. Particularly, what was it, Modeus, the lustful demon? Go figure. Everyone else is like they just can't be bothered with your presence being there, or they got their own agenda, or they got nothing better to do with their time. So it's like, okay, we got this dude who wants to create a harem. Let's just go with it. And they give you life advice, though, and it's not really advice. It's just playful jabs at either another character in the party or just towards your character in general. So for the most part, you have to do all the work yourself. Or, you can cop out and watch a YouTube solution, which I ended up doing for stage 9, because stage 9, my God, I know I said it before, but I'll say it again. I couldn't do it. Like, my recording time for this game was about an hour and a half, and 40 minutes was on stage 9. I'm ashamed to admit it. No, not really, because whatever. I just said I'm not a puzzle guy, so it's kind of no shit at this point. I spent about 40 minutes on stage 9 before I gave up without actually hitting the skip feature. The only other stage that gave me some sort of trouble was the stage before that, stage 8. Recruiting Justice, the awesome demon. I think it didn't help that I was already up for like 13, 14 hours at the time of recording this game. Mental facilities are the first thing to go when I'm tired. And I've been on, for the last month, I've been on a strict eating schedule. I've been trying to ingest less coffee, more than what I usually do when I'm making videos and all that. So, I didn't want to perk myself up past my schedule. I got to tough it out. And I was like, all right, now let's play a puzzle game while I'm fatigued. And maybe if I played this like first thing in the morning, those stages, stage 9 specifically, wouldn't have destroyed me, but I struggled more times than I care to admit, and I wonder if part of that was because I was just so mentally out of it. But I still had a good time. The one thing that like immediately grabs you, besides the premise of this dude, I don't know who the hell you compare him to. The suit reminds me of that one protagonist from Yakuza, but like his motivations is like, what if Johnny Bravo was shameful enough to just try and recruit girls in hell? Maybe Leisure Suit Larry goes to Inferno from Bayonetta. The premise alone is funny. It's eye-catching because, okay, whatever. I'm always down for a silly plot. But the dialogue itself is also a nice reward because, you know, this game is pretty funny. You know, all these girls that you meet, it's minute stuff. But they all have like these quirky personalities that normally tied to like the names of them. You have Panda Monica, who I think might be a secretary for somebody, but she needs coffee, and she doesn't look like she wants to be involved in anything. But you know, you recruit her because you promise that you can bring her coffee. You know, and it's like, and that's it. That's she sold on it. I mean, she still looks like she could use another cup, but I mean, that's all it takes is like, just promise her coffee. It's like, okay, you're my friend now. Yeah, Modea, as I mentioned earlier, the lustful demon, she just wants to fuck. Cerberus, the triple demon, which is basically just you normally think of a three-headed dog. It's just three girls. And okay, I think it's either Melina or Melina, the sour demon. She's the nerd. The one that likely put 6,000 hours into World of Warcraft for Final Fantasy XIV, has a specific way of doing things and can't be bothered with anyone's bullshit. So she goes with you if you agree to play some turn-based strategy with her. It's like, okay, you know what? I like a person that knows what they like. This name I struggle with. This is Adrada, the bitch demon, very assertive. You get to her immediately, it's like, oh, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Just like, too bad, I'm coming with you anyway. That's it. And it should be noted that when you reach a girl in the end of this puzzle, you also have to make sure you choose the correct option, because if you don't, you get the bad ending where the girl just straight up kills you. Like, you don't see anything, but it just says like bad ending. You get some humorous dialogue and you gotta do the puzzle over again, which again, it's funny, but I also feel it's a little needless because it's the game trying to be a dating simulator, I guess, in some capacity, but for a very short amount of time, like just one dialogue option. If you choose the wrong one, that's it. You gotta do the puzzle over again. So at most, you're wasting like 10-15 seconds, because if you remember the solution from before, you just do it again. Just choose the right question this time. Well, choose the right answer, I should say. Azazel, I recognized the name Azazel from The Binding of Isaac, and I remember that being a demonic power-up, so I have no idea why she's a curious angel in this one. I'm not too keen on my biblical mythos. It's not something I really think about a whole bunch. Maybe she's actually a demon in disguise, and her halo is not really complete. I've noticed it kind of looks like horns if you blur your eyes. But she's just there for research, but she just has to come along because it might help in her research paper or some other shit. Justice was probably my favorite of the bunch aesthetically, because I dig the shades. Also like the wordplay, because she reveals later that she's blind and her name is Justice. And finally, you get to Lucifer herself, and she probably had my favorite puzzle, a puzzle in quotes, because it's pretty much a victory lap where you're essentially just cutting in line in front of all these slaves and kicking the front one out of the way, and that's it. You just talk to her. I thought that was pretty damn funny. And for someone that's the CEO of Hell, I was expecting more of a fight, but with the right dialogue choice, you can recruit her, because you offer her pancakes. You offer her coffee, thanks to Panda Monica, turn-based strategies, thanks to Melina, and pancakes, because I think that's what you just do inherently. I think you're just a glorified chef. But it's strange because this game also has a boss fight, which kind of like sticks out compared to like everything else. You no longer have to worry about your limited movement. You just have to avoid shit and like kick the fucking shit out of chains. Like the sound effects I think are pretty stock, but they work. Like they're really effective. Like this guy kicks shit for a living. Feels pretty satisfying just getting right next to a chain and just mashing the button. Although I think, I'm not entirely sure if this is on my end or just the control scheme in general. So there are two options to control this game. There is keyboard and mouse, standard stuff, and you also have controller. I swear to Christ there were a handful of times where the game registered double inputs on mouse and keyboard. I didn't bother trying the game on the controller because a game very simple like this. It's top down. All you gotta do is move left, right, up and down. You kick stuff by rubbing against them just by pressing the button again. But it is that action there where I feel that maybe the game's input sensitivity is a little too high for keyboard and mouse, because there are times where I will move a rock or I will carefully consider which direction I'm moving, and the game will act as if I hit the input twice, which sucks because just moving against a rock that you can kick or a goon will count as an input, which will tick the number down. It's a wasted move, essentially. There were a couple of times where I ended up losing it because I swear I only hit the down or up arrow once, and the game is telling me I did it twice. I'm not entirely sure if that's the game. I could be alone on that one. If it's an ongoing problem, I don't know, but I did want to mention that because it did happen a number of times. Left me pretty agitated, especially in my fatigued state of mind when I was recording this. You've no doubt noticed the music at this point. The game only has one track for gameplay, and like on paper that sounds like a bad idea, solo indie developer or not, but it ends up working because it's just catchy enough where you don't get sick of it, and the added visual charm of enemies and the girls and like everything on the screen bouncing with the tune itself really sells the appeal of the song itself. I ended up really like falling in love with it. It's a really good track. You can go on YouTube and find like an hour mix, like an hour-long extension of it with like all the girls dancing. I really like it. Could have used a little more tracks, sure, because I think the only other time it plays different music is during cutscenes, the boss music at the very end of the game, and I think the ending. But no, for like 90% of the game, it's this track right here. But again, it works. I think it's composed very well. So normally this is where I would kind of think about whether the game is worth the purchase, worth your time and money, but considering that it's completely free, you really have nothing to lose but time. And even then, it's not going to take that much of it because, again, this game is really short. And especially if you live and breathe for these kind of puzzle games, you can clear it in like 10-20 minutes, like on your first run if you love that kind of thing. So I'd say go nuts. I can leave a link in the description below for the Steam page. Consider buying the soundtrack and that pancake recipe. And if you do make the pancakes, share it with me on my Twitter at Somecallmejohn. The John has a J-O-N. It's not J-O-H. I think that was taken years ago. One day. And once again, I want to thank Wade his boss on Twitter for the recommendation. Before we wrap up this video, though, I do want to drop a special thank you to this video's sponsor, Squarespace. So, live action, John, take it away, please. As I stated before, my friend Ben and I have been doing these 24-hour gaming marathons, all to raise money for Extra Life and the Children's Miracle Network for close to 6 years, I want to say. Extra Life itself has a fine enough donation page, and reading your donation comments always fills me with a warm, cozy feeling. But I wanted something a little more personal, something that can show you the schedule, potential raffle prizes, a little history about us. Ben and I doing stupid things, all that stuff. I can do all that now thanks to Squarespace. The site's still under construction, and given my current schedule, I don't plan on having it done until the end of the summer, when we're ready to make the official announcement. But the user interface and the assistant on the right side of the screen made creating the site incredibly comfortable, and that's why I like it. I am dumb as a brick in creating websites. I still think GeoCities and Angel Fire memes are still relevant. Well, I need my hand held for these kind of things, and a simple website like this is well within the realms of what you can do, but there's much more here for those looking to get started on their business. Appointment scheduling if you're doing online classes, traffic overview to give you insight you need for channel growth, complete commenting features to keep in touch with your community and see what they like and what they don't like, and you also have extensions that can help you manage your inventory, promote products, streamlining bookkeeping, and ship items across the world. If you're an up-and-coming artist trying to start somewhere, here you go. You can head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're good to launch, go to squarespace.com/Johnny and use the code Johnny to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Give yourself that professional look to make your website or business pop. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the next spotlight. You can look at previous outings here on the end screen cards. You can catch an entire playlist on the right side, or you can catch my previous spotlight here on the left side. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask if you decide to go outside. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care.